Welcome to Bitfumes, and this is Vue.js in just 60 minutes. You will going to learn Vue.js from scratch to pro in just 60 minutes. And this will going to change your life because Vue.js is super popular and in demand nowadays in the market. So let's start Vue.js and what we are going to learn first. So we are going to learn what is Vue.js, then how to use it on an existing project, because you can use it on an existing project to have some functionality, not the whole one. Then how to create a fresh Vue.js project. Suppose you want to build a whole project just upon Vue.js, so how you can do that. Then we will talk about the components of Vue.js, because components are the core part of Vue.js. Very nice. And before moving forward, let's see what actually we are going to create in this episode. At the end of this episode, what you are able to create and what you are going to learn. So if I go to my Chrome, this is what we are going to create. We have this home page, then we have this login page, and you can see without any refresh, the URL is also changes and the page is changes and no refresh here. Then you can see we have these lists. So if we can click on this cancel button, yes, that particular item is only removed from here. And if we want to add some another, so as we have deleted Angular, so let's grab Angular once more and hit add. That's okay. And if we try to add React, we will see how it will going to work. That if we going to give React, then that will not come up here. The item says no React allow here, and this is because on our Vue dev tool, you can see on this home page we have this lists. We have 6 items, but the 6th item is React. But we have tell Vue.js that if you get the name as a React, don't show, instead show this one. So this is good. And one thing more, if I try to delete anything, you can see one event is emitted. So you will learn how you can emit an event and how you can catch that event or listen on that event. One thing more, you can add anything here just by hitting enter. So no clicking on add button. So this thing also we will see, and much more thing like talking between the components, passing the props and child component and parent component communication, and lots of thing on this episode. So let's get back here. So let me tell you about myself. My name is Sarthak Shrivastava. You can follow me on these kind of platforms at Bitfumes, and you can support me on patreon.com/Bitfumes. Even $1 a month will be a great help, and that will keep pushing me to have all these awesome videos in the future. So let's talk what is Vue.js. If you don't know about Vue.js, and if you have just the knowledge of JavaScript, the core JavaScript, or even the jQuery, then you can easily get what is Vue.js. It's another JavaScript framework. But why we need another JavaScript framework? We have Angular, we have React, we have lots other JavaScript framework, but why Vue.js? What are the features Vue.js gives you so that it has become so popular? First thing is it is approachable. What that mean? This means if you are new to Vue.js, you can learn Vue.js, the full Vue.js in just 1 week. It is super easy to learn. It is super light. That means if you use it on an existing project just like jQuery, even I think jQuery file will be larger than Vue.js file. Okay, so that's why Vue.js is also a great approachable framework. Then versatile. As I have told you, you can create a simple functionality to a whole project just with the Vue.js, and that's why it is versatile. It can be used just as a jQuery or as a full-fledged JavaScript framework. Then comes performant. Performance is the core part of any kind of JavaScript framework or even any kind of framework. Because if performance is not good, then what's the benefit of other features? Because Vue.js is so light, it is super fast, and that's why everyone is looking forward for Vue.js. Okay, so then it is maintainable. As I have told you, the core part of Vue.js is the component. So suppose you are creating a project, and on a page you have the header, footer, sidebar and the main content. Then in a Vue.js kind of ecosystem, what you will do, you will just create a component for header, then for footer, then for sidebar and then for main content. And in each of the component, you will provide the codes related to that particular component only. You don't have, or your code don't have to worry about what code you have written on other component. So in that way, your code is super manageable. You can manage all the codes with very ease. Then comes testability. Before, Vue.js is not testable, but now Vue.js can be tested. That means you type some code on for you, and then you can write a program to test another program. In that case, if you come after 1 year or 6 months and you have some new functionality and you think about that, okay, now maybe this new functionality may break some other code, don't worry about that. Just run the test, and that test will tell you that the new functionality will affect other old functionality or not. Then comes reactive. Yeah, Vue.js is super reactive. It can change the DOM. It can be implemented for any kind of events, and that's why it is reactive. Then let's compare some of the star ratings of Vue.js, React and Angular. Yes, Angular is super popular and it is the first popular framework among the JavaScript family, but it is not quite famous nowadays because everyone wants Vue.js or React. If you check the star rating, Vue.js and React just are having 4,000 stars apart. And I'm sure the speed of popularity of Vue.js is super that maybe in the future it will surpass React also. And I will wait for that time, and you will going to ping me if that happens. So let's move forward. And if you go to Vue.js website, vuejs.org, you will see that it says Vue.js is a progressive framework. Now what that means, progressive framework? So progressive word comes from progress. So this means you can firstly create a project, and if you have not think about using JavaScript a lot, you just want to have some functionality, you implement Vue.js. But as you progress, you think that, okay, I think I need to implement more of the JavaScript. Then Vue.js will not complain about that. You can easily expand your project upon Vue.js from no Vue.js to full Vue.js, and Vue.js will not complain. The old code will stay there, and that's why it is progressive. As you progress, you enhance the Vue.js library on your project. So that is the power of using Vue.js. So let's talk about some old school days system where we have the HTML, and in the HTML you have the styling link. Then in that same HTML we have the script. So this is like everything on a single file. So this is the way we have done when we have started learning the HTML or web designing. But let's talk about the components of Vue.js. Components also having the script tag, then some of the HTML, then the stylings. But what is the difference between Vue.js component is having script, style and HTML, and our old school days system is also having script, style and HTML. So what's the difference between these two? So for that, let's go to next slide. Let's see the Vue.js component. This is just an example of Vue.js component, and here still we have everything on a single file, but you can see whatever the script has, it just for that HTML written inside this template tag. Similarly, the style you give it just only for this template. So in that case, these functionality, the script and the styles having only responsibility for the HTML you write on your template section. And that's why Vue.js component is easy to maintain, and you can even reuse these components. And that's why we have the difference between old school day of having everything on a single page and Vue.js again having the everything on a new page but with some component system. So let's see some kind of designing, how components are designed. You can clip out each and every section from your page and create it as a component. So you can see here header or nav bar is having a component having HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Similarly, product description having HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Similar product and product images, even if you want to use footer, that can also have HTML, CSS, JavaScript for that component only. So these are the things you can do with components, and you can create the components. So let's talk about the man behind the Vue.js, the mind behind the Vue.js. Even Yu is the creator of Vue.js, and he is an awesome guy. He is an ex-Googler. Actually, he was in the Angular core team, and that's why you will feel some kind of similarity between Vue.js and Angular. So let's now talk about the assumptions before starting the Vue.js. What you have in your mind, what you have to have before just starting that. So you just need to learn JavaScript, the basics JavaScript, and not the advanced one, just the basic, and the basic web designing, because Vue.js is a web technology, so you must have the knowledge of web designing and web things. Okay, so enough talking, enough slides, and let's now dive into the codes and see how we can create Vue.js project and how we can start with Vue.js. So let's now go to Chrome, and I will go to vuejs.org to getting started. And here you can see we have many companies, and my favorite one, the Laravel, is here. Actually, Vue.js became popular when Laravel included Vue.js in its core system for having the front-end technology. Then Vue.js getting in limelight, and then after it is becoming so popular. So thanks to Taylor, the creator of Laravel, to have this Vue.js in the system of front-end technologies. And let's get started with this. To get started with the Vue.js, you just want this script tag. Just like you have the jQuery script tag, CDN you will use. Similarly, you have to use this script tag. So what I will do, I will open our folder. So let's close this one. Now from here, I will go, and here I will open this from VS Code, the great VS Code, and here I will create a simple file called index.html. Here I will create a HTML5 markup, and now I have to get that script tag here. So we have included the Vue script tag, and let's create a script tag just here. So what first I'm going to do, I will say let app is equal to, I will create a new instance of Vue. So just like this, and done. You can see we have created a new fresh Vue instance. So if I save this and try to run it on our Chrome, so let's go here, hit enter. We can't see anything because we don't even have anything. So if I open Chrome DevTool, here you can see on our HTML we have app. That means a app is a new Vue instance. So here on the console I will type app, and I will hit enter, and now you can see we have the whole Vue app or new instance of app on our project, and this is awesome. So let's now do something interesting. So now go to our VS Code, and what we have to do to get started with Vue.js, we have to firstly create an element where we bind our Vue.js. So for that we have to say element as a ID of app. This means I have to create a div having ID of app. This means now whatever I type here is connected with this div. Just like on jQuery, what you do, you will refer via ID, but on the jQuery you have to refer each and every div via ID when you want to use it. But here on the Vue.js, only one time, and that's it. So what I'm going to do here, firstly I will say hello world, go refresh, and yes, hello world is here. That's easy, but what the Vue is doing here so let's do one thing, create a new data, and data is an object, and I will say message. Message is simply hello, oops, hello learner. Okay, so hello learner. Okay, and how we will use this hello learner here? Okay, so let's type that message here. So because we have the data here and we have written here, that's it. So let's go refresh. Okay, it's just giving that message. This means Vue.js saying that it is a string and I'm going to show it as it is. So how we will tell Vue.js that okay, Vue, it's not a string, it's a data we have defined, or a variable, if you are familiar with the terminology of variable. So to tell Vue.js that it is actually a data, you just have to make this inside or wrap this inside these two curly braces. Now if I save it, go refresh, and yeah, you can see we have the hello learner here, and that's the coolest part. So this means whatever I can define here, I can use it here just by using these curly braces. So let's define one more thing called from, a message from. I will say Sarthak. Message is from Sarthak. So here the message is hello learner. I will say a message from and again we know that we have to use this in a curly braces so that we know that this is not a string, this is a data we have defined here. So go refresh, and yes, hello learner, a message from Sarthak. But let's do some cool part. Here we have seen that we can access the app. So I will say app dot name, or not name, app dot from, which is Sarthak. So let's try to change it. App.from is now becoming Bitfumes. So let's see the effect. So keep your eye on this name, the Sarthak written on here. Let's now hit enter, and you can see on the fly it's now changed. It reacted towards the data. As the data changes, here the HTML part is also changed. So this means it is connected, directly connected. And here you can see we have used message inside this curly braces and outside curly braces. So if anything is not in curly braces, Vue consider it as a string, and inside the curly braces Vue consider it as a data. So this is the way by which you can use Vue.js in your existing project. Just have to include this script tag and create this kind of new instance of Vue.js, and then you can move forward and have any kind of functionality you want. Let's do one more thing. If I create an input box and I want to have that message via this input box. This means whenever I type something in this message box, then the text inside the input will appear as the message. So how we will connect that? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to firstly say V model. V model is just going to connect whatever we'll type here and the data we have on our new Vue instance. So V model is message. So it is called two-way binding. This means two-way binding is what? One is we are typing, and then that whatever we type is now binded to this word. So if I now save this, go refresh, you can see hello learner is here. So you will see two-way binding here, because when I press backspace, that exclamation mark is not here and even not here. That's the cool part. If we delete whole of the learner word as we are deleting here, that also deleted from the document object model, the DOM, or we can simply say the HTML. So let's say hello world, and it is back here. That's cool. So what I'm doing here, let's give a BR tag here, save this, and what I'm going to do, I will firstly have the message empty, and then whatever I type and hit a button, that message will come up here only after I hit submit. So firstly what I have to do, I have to empty out this message. So I will simply say null. So if I say null, and yes, it is empty and there is no message. But now I want to create a button called submit, simple button called submit. But how we will tell Vue.js that when I click, you have to get whatever inside this input, get that from here and put it here. So I think for that we have to create a one more data, which is like input text, and that input text will come here. So that will be input text. And now firstly whatever I type on input text will come up here. Then when I click on this submit button, then that click event will grab the data from input text and push into message variable. And here is the cool part, how we will say on the click event. So I think on a normal JavaScript you will say on click, and even simpler here on the Vue.js you just have to say v on and then click. And even more simpler, you can simply say at click. So at click and v on click are the same thing. So I will stick to at click. So at click I want to create a simple method called get message. So where I will create this method or the function. So here what I have to say, I will create a comma, then I will say methods, because maybe this object can having lots of methods, so that's why they have defined its methods. Now here I will create that function, and here I will simply say this dot input text, or I will say this dot message is equal to this dot input text. Okay, so I think the system is looking quite clear. Whenever I click on this button, we will go to get messages. On the get messages, whatever I type or whatever we have on this input text variable, this will passed to this dot message variable, and that message variable will show here. So I think we have done correctly everything, but maybe there will be error. So let's now check that. So refresh. Okay, so here I will say hello world. Okay, that's not here, but if I submit, and yes, you can see the hello world is here. Congratulations. And that's the super powerful thing. But the point I'm not getting that we have to make this empty so that I can change again. So why not do one thing? Just after I push everything from input text to this message, I will say input text is equal to null once more. So refresh and hello learner, submit, and yeah, you can see hello learner is here, and this time this input box is now empty. So this is the cool part. Let's see the magic. You have seen that what we have written here and how it's going to look. 2 line in a single message, and simple 3 variable to have the whole functionality of getting data from here, clicking this, pushing the data here, empty out this. We have done lots of things and so much less code. This is the power of Vue.js. So let's now move from including this Vue.js in a single project to create a whole new Vue.js project. So I will close this out, and now I will go to Chrome. Here on the installation part, you will see we have this npm part. So what we have to do, we have to install Vue CLI. What that CLI means? CLI is command line interface, and what it will do, it will just give you some of the commands to have Vue.js, or that will help you while you are creating any project related to Vue.js. So let's first grab that. For that, I will go here on the code. I will open the integrated terminal, and here I will firstly check whether I have node or not. So I will say node -v. Yes, I have. Do we have npm? Yes, we have. So this means if you are not having all these things, you just have to say nodejs.org. You have to go here and you can install, and after that you can have the node here. So after that you have to say npm install global global vue CLI. Vue CLI I have explained you, but what this global will do? Global is just saying that install this as a globally. This means no matter I'm opening terminal from, we can access Vue CLI. That's good. So just install this, hit enter. While it is installing, let's see what the next part we have to do. So on the installation, after we have the Vue CLI, we have to say Vue init webpack and whatever the project name. So let's go, and yeah, it is completed. So I will say Vue init webpack, and my project name is Vue-tutorial. That's easy. So now if I hit enter, it will create a new project, but before creating the project, it will ask lots of questions, so we have to answer that. So first question is, do you want to have the project name Vue tutorial? Yes, obvious, I have written that. Okay, so hit enter. Then any description? No. So it will take that whatever will be inside this parenthesis. So again, author, yeah, Sarthak Srivastava. Then do you want runtime plus compiler or runtime only? So runtime compiler is good, so that whenever we save, it will refresh the data. So here now comes Vue router. Vue router, what this Vue router will do? Suppose you are having a single page application. This means you have all these things, and whenever you click on any button, not the page refresh but the component change. This means this component will disappear and other component will come up. In that case, that is okay, but we want to change the URL also. In that case, Vue router will help you, but maybe I will show you how to use that, but I'm not sure. So let's grab that. So let's hit enter, and yes, I want vs lint, so y, and I don't want any GitHub repository because it is just a simple tutorial, so none. And then unit test, I'm not going to test here anything because it's just a basic introduction to Vue.js. I will do a full 60-minute video type things or a series on Vue.js testing later, but for now I will say no. Then everything is good. E2E test, again no testing. And yes, I want to use npm, not yarn. I will use npm. So hit enter once more, and now it will install or create the Vue.js project. So we have to wait for that. So now our Vue.js is successfully installed. Vue.js project is successfully installed. So let's cd into Vue tutorial, and now we have to say npm run dev. What this will going to do, this will actually going to compile everything, and then it will open our project in a localhost, some port maybe. So wait for that, and while it's compiling, let's see the structure we are getting on our project. So if I open this, and you can see port 8080. So let's hit here, and Now let's go to Chrome. Okay, I think I have to go to 80. And yes, we have this Vue.js, but where all these things are situated in our project. So let's now go to code. Let me introduce you with all these kinds of folder and files. So firstly, we have this build file. So when we build something, that means we are ready to finalize everything, then it comes here. So it has build.js and how everything is going to build, some of the configuration related to our Vue.js project. Then node module folder, which having all the npm related or node related packages here. And then we have the source folder. We will talk about the source folder because this is the main folder. Then we have some of these files which we are not going to touch, and this is actually the main page, the index.html page, which is going to render everything. So you can see we have all these things, but we cannot see that inside our index.html. But what we can see is a single div having id of app, and we know that, I think, because this is having id of app, there has to be somewhere any script which is like creating a new instance of Vue like this and having element related to app. This kind of things we are expecting here, but we are not seeing this here. So where these things are situated, I think they are situated in some other file. So let's talk about that thing. For everything, you have to go to your source folder or src folder. Here you can see we have this main.js file. So actually what they have done, they have just extracted the script we have written and the new Vue kind of things and created a new JS file. And yes, here we can see we have this new Vue which is binded with the id of app and all these some of these things. We will talk about them later. So we will see what are these things, but we have along with that app.vue. .vue extension, I think this is new. So it is a Vue file simply. And as I have told you, every file, every Vue file is a component. And here you can see it is a fully a component. As I have told you, we have the HTML inside template tag, then some of the script related to this particular HTML, and then some of the styles again related to this particular HTML. And again you can see we have the id of div, and we have some kind of data which is called name as a app. So this is good, but we have this image, and this is actually the image we are getting here. So this is the image, and then router view. What this router view is doing here, actually we have decided to use the Vue router in our application, and that's why we have this router folder. So if I open this router folder, again we are getting another index.js file, and here we are defining router Vue use router, and then a new instance of router. Inside that we are providing a routes, and first route is whenever we go to slash, that means the base URL, we will provide the hello world component, and this is my hello world component. But where is this hello world component? Where this is imported? This is imported from components slash hello world. So let's see, we have this components folder. Let's open this, and yes, we have this hello world.vue, again another component, and you are getting that. So template and lots of things, then script, and then style. So everything we have talked about and we can see are becoming true. So what this is doing here, hello world has essential links, which is like this. So these are the links coming from here. So what if I delete styles? So let's delete, save it, and you can see it is now non-styled, and bring it back, everything is done. And you can see as I change, as I save, it's now reflected here. So that's the power of using Vue.js on the fly. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to even not going to use this template, so delete. I'm not going to use even these kind of things, so I will use this template, but I will delete it entirely. So now we have error because it says there is no hello world.view for the router. For the router it says we import something hello world from component, but we have deleted that. So instead what I'm going to do, I will create a new component here called home.view. That's okay, and inside home.view I will create a scaffolding, and I have suggested you to install this package called, I don't know how to pronounce that, Vetur, whatever it is. And that's because I have this functionality that if I say scaffold, everything is here. So that's good, and I will simply say h1 tag, and which is hello world. Okay, and now instead of hello world component, I will call home component. So home component, yes, that's good. And now if I go here, we have created the component, but we are still not getting anything. On the console it says fail to mount component template or render function not defined. This means there is some error. So you can see we are getting error, and it is so clear error. It is defining that, yeah, you can see this arrow is pointing towards the file where you have the error. By the way, if you are using Vue.js, you must have this Vue.js Chrome extension, and what it will do, it will just give you all the information about the component, what are the data it has, what are the methods it had, no, not method, what are the data it has, what are the props it has. We will talk about the prop later. So let's just fix this error. So here I will go, and on the app.view you can see we don't have anything. So what this main.js telling us, main.js telling that there is a element of app. Okay, so that's good. So again, create a scaffolding and create a div having id of app. That's nice. So let's see result. Okay, no error, but even after this no error we can't see anything. Our home component is still not here. So let's see what we have when we have not done anything. Okay, so we need to say here router view. So again, here I will simply say router hyphen view, and what this will do, this will simply get everything we define on our router. So this time if I go, yes, we have this hello world, and we have still one error, and that's good. And now it is looking quite nice, and not very nice, but as we had expected and things work, then I will say very nice. Okay, so this is good. So this means now if I want to go to another component, I will simply say, let's say I will say login component. So login.view, I will create a scaffolding for that, and I will simply say h1 tag for login page. This is good, but I want to go to this login page when I click on any link. So I think we want some link to go to login page and go to home page. So what I'm going to do on this app.view, I will create two links. One link which is like I will go to login page, and another link which is called I want to go to home page. So home page is like this and login page is like this. Okay, so let's define a new route which is just like the same, and this time slash login that has to be. And now I don't want any home for this, I want login component. So we have to import that login component from here. So login. So this is good. Let's see how it's going to look. Okay, so let's click on this login. It's not working, and even it's not doing on the fly, it's refreshing the page, and that's not we want. Okay, so let's do one thing. If I say login here, and yeah, you can see we have not even refreshed the page, but our data is refreshed. That functionality we want here. So instead of using this, where is that? Yeah, instead of using this anchor tag, we have to use something else, something related to view router. So let's go to view router, and here on the first page, on the getting started, I have to say router link. So let's copy one and paste it here for 1 and 2. So first one I want to go to home, second one I want to go to login. So first one is to slash, and second one is to login. That's good. So go here, refresh this page, and login home, login home, login home. Okay, now let's do some view stuffs. We have done lots of router view stuffs. So let's close app, and now inside our home.view, I'm going to do something like v for. Suppose you want to loop something. That means you have the data, like let me show you that. So let's define the data, but you can see we are on a component. So in the component, we cannot define data like this. We have to create data which will return something, because if we go to our this one, the new view instance, when we create, we can define data like this. That's not a problem. But when we are on a component, we have to define data like this, which will return some object. So here it is returning this object, and this object will give me some kind of list. So I will say lists, and lists again having a object, or I think we can use array of I will say array of object having name is, first name is Sarthak, then second object having name of Bitfumes, then we have some Vue.js, then we have Angular, then we have my favorite Pikachu, and that's it. But how we will loop through all these things? Yes, we can say like ul, and inside ul we have li, and we can say simply, and we can use interpolation, lists dot name and first one. Let's say first one means 0th one. Okay, so let's see what we are getting. Okay, we are getting error which says compile error, and this component should contain exactly one root element. What that mean? So what it mean that even our VS Code is giving error. What that mean is that inside the template we cannot use directly two elements. So what we can do, we can make all these things inside a div. So this means even we have these two elements or the tags, we still having single div inside this template. So that's nice. So if I now go, and again we are having some kind of error. So let's see what the error. It says cannot read the property 0. So 0 property cannot be read here. So I think that should be like this, and then we have to say name. Okay, yeah, this is good. Sarthak is here. Similarly, yes, I got the point. I have to say here 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So I think we have 5 thing here, and everything is working fine. Absolutely correct. That's very nice. But what if you have 50? Here comes our v for. So I'm going to do something like this, and here I will simply say v for item in lists. Okay, that's not a problem. And here again we have some kind of error. Remember that our VS Code is highlighting this. We will fix this, but let's echo out. Oh, the PHP world echo out. Let's use this item here, and we will show item here. And to fix this, let's see the error. Okay, it says we have to use v bind of key. It says that you have to define some key. Key is just for referencing each and every item as an individual. So I will say item dot name, simple one. So this is good, and if you have id, then you can use id. But we have used vbind, you know, instead of vbind you can simply use colon or nothing else, and this is again the shortcut, as we have v on and at. Similarly, we have vbind and colon. So that's nice. We have used v4, and you can see in a single line, or maybe in a 3-line, but it's just for indentation, but in a single line we have done lots and lots of things. So if I now go, we have the same thing, but yeah, we are getting all the object. So we can simply say item dot name, and yes, it is done. That's the power of using our Vue.js in any project. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to add something here, or I want to delete something here. So I will create a simple span here, and say I will say X, and that's nice. But instead of span, maybe I can use button. So here I have typed button, and let's see, yeah, we have the button. So if I click on this button, I want to delete these item, that particular item from our list. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. And I know that there is a at click event. So at click, I want to simply say remove, and as we know that we have to create a method called remove. So let's now go here. Just after data, I will create methods as an object. Object is a function, and that function is going to remove that item from this list. But how will I know that which one I have to remove? So what I can even do, this dot lists dot, I can simply splice, but it's actually splice is a JavaScript function. So splice 1 comma 1. Let's see what the result it's giving. So if I go here, refresh this page, and if I click on Pikachu, okay, Pikachu is not removed. Even the second one is removed, which is Bitfumes. Why is that? Why is the case? And if you go to Vue dev tool, you can see on this home page we have even the list of 4 here. That means it is also removed from here. Again, if I click Pikachu, okay, so the second one, again the second one, which is the Vue.js, is removed. So this means we have to provide some kind of thing like index or the key of the item or the array. It means along with this item, I want to get index also. So it is very easy. I just want to get index also. So index is not defined and never used. Okay, so let's use index here. So index. Now what I'm doing, whenever I click on this button, I'm passing the index of that particular item here. So let's grab the index, and I will splice only that particular index item. So everything is here. Let's remove Pikachu, and only Pikachu is deleted. Let's remove Vue.js. Only Vue.js is removed, and you can see on our dev tool everything is here. That's nice. So this is very useful when you want to debug, or you want to check what are the data or the functionality you have. That's good. And as I have told you, I want to add something. So just want an input field here and a button to add here. So let's create an input field here. So input, and as we know, we have to create a model, v model, and that define new item. Okay, so new item data we have to define. Just after this lists, we will define new data, which is initially empty or null. So this is good. And just after that, we need a button which will say add. and here I want click event, as we already know click event of add. Okay, so this means, I think you know this point, we have to create another method, and you know method is an object of these functions. So let's give a comma, click add, type add, and here we will provide the add functionality. So we have to grab, whenever we click on this add button, we will go to this add function. On this add function, we will grab the data we have on new item, okay, and then we push that data inside this. That's good. So I think I'm getting that. So here now what we have to do, we have to just say on this add method, this dot lists dot push, and what we are going to push, we are going to push an object having a name of this dot new item. It is very easy. What we are doing, we are pushing inside this, because this lists is an array of object having the name and the value. So that's why we have to give an object having the name and the value. That we have to consider this, that whatever the structure of this list, we have to give the same structure when we are pushing, otherwise we cannot push. So let me demonstrate that to you. If I am going to give simple this item, let's see, let's go to Chrome, and here what I am do, I will say React because it's not here. If I try to add, it says nothing added. You know why? Because it has to be like the name and the value. So if I go to lists, we can see that we just have a string, not an object. We want an object. So let's now go to code, and as I have told you, we have to use like this. This means if I now go to Chrome, type React, hit add, and yes, we have this React here, and we can verify it on this fifth item, which is React. That's nice. And one thing more, we have to delete this when we add. We have to clear out the input box. So just after this, this dot new item is equal to null once more. So let's try one more time. React add, and yes, it is empty and it is added. And this is the simple part. So delete, and Pikachu is added. That's the great part. But what I want, whenever I hit enter, so like Angular I type and hit enter, it will add that. So what we can do, we can create a simple form here. So I will create a form, and I don't need any kind of action here. So inside this form, I will push this button and this input box here. And now instead of binding the click event of this button, I will delete this from here, and I will say at submit. This means when the form submits dot prevent, I will prevent whatever will be the normal form submission process. And then I want to have this add method. That's nice. So we have to make this as a type of submit. And let me show you what happen if I don't use anything here. So let's go refresh. I will simply say anything and add. You can see we have this question mark in the URL, and that's because of the form submission. So refresh, and now if I say like this, go and add React add, yes, it is working. But if I say Bulbasaur, hit enter, and yes, it is working absolutely fine. So this is again the very useful thing, at submit dot prevent. This is good. But what if I want to make sure that I don't want to see React here, even if I type here, but I don't want React even if I have that in our lists array, but I don't want to show. So what I can say here, okay, so I will say v if, and by the way, for a Vue.js, because there are lots of things we are doing, what you can do, you can create a new line for every kind of thing you are doing for Vue.js. So here I will say v if, that means if this condition is true, whatever I am going to give. If item dot name is equal to react, I think I have to say when not equal to react. This means whatever will be the condition, if it is not equal to react, yes, show this, otherwise not show. Only if this condition is false. So if I give item name as react, this condition will become true, then it will not going to show. So refresh, react, hit enter. Okay, you can see we are not getting that, but in our home on the list, yes, we have the reacts. So this is cool. And instead of this, what we can do, one more thing, again I will create a VLI and I will say v else, and if it is not react, I will say no react allow here. Okay, so let's once more try, refresh this, and I make sure I don't have any react here. Yeah, there's no react, so I will say react, hit enter, and you can see we have fifth element as a react, but here it is saying that no react allow here. So this is the power of Vue.js, and this is super cool technique. So now let me tell you how we can pass the data from a parent component to a child component. And what the parent component and child component, let's first see here. On this home template or home component, we are doing two things. We have a form to create a new item and then we are showing it. Why not extract this in an items component? So we have to create a new component. So here simply I will create a components items dot view, and here I will create a scaffolding and paste everything I have. So remember, single template must have a single element, and that's we have here. That's okay. Now what we are doing, we are looping here through the lists, but in this component we don't have any lists. So we get the lists from our home component. So home component is the parent component and items component is the child component. But one thing more, how does home component know that there is a component called child component? So if I go now to Chrome, go to home component, it says, did you register the component correctly? Do you know is there is a component? So this means we have to register, or we have to tell this component that there is a child component. So firstly we have to import items from, because both are on same folder, so I will say dot slash items. So we have imported that, and now we have to tell that there is a component called items. So we have to say components, and here comes items, then give comma, and now it is okay. And this means if I now refresh, this is okay, the component error is gone, but now new error, lists is not defined on here. So let's define a list, but I'm not going to give it data because I want data come from home. So why not create a props? It's like properties, and here I will say lists. So whenever you get the data from parent to child, you will define props. So how we will pass the props? It's super easy. As we have the prop, so I will say colon, then comes lists, the prop we have defined here, then is equal to whatever I want to give. So I want to give lists. So if you are confused, I will simply say items. So items instead of lists, so that we have a clear-cut definition what is going on here. So we are passing the prop, which is items, and props value is lists. This means here we can get the lists, and now we can loop through items instead of lists. So go to Chrome, refresh, and yes, you can see we have all these things, but it will not work. So if I click here, there is no remove function, but if I try to add, yes, it will work. You know why? because our home component is having responsible for adding thing, but remove part is not responsible for home component. Click event is on items, so let's move this remove from here and create a new methods here and give it here. So everything will work fine. It will remove. Okay, splice is not defined. Yeah, so I have to say here items. So if I try to do this, hit cancel, and yes, everything is absolutely working fine. So if I try to add, yes, I will add that. If I try to add anything else, yes, this is also working. So we have done this part, but suppose I want to emit some event. This means I don't want to remove from here. I want to remove from home component. I don't want to move that remove function from here to here. So let's delete that and let's see again we are getting error. Yeah, we are getting this error. So how we will pass the data or some information from child to parent? We have seen that we can pass the data or anything from parent, this is home, to this child. But how this child will tell parent that hey, I have done something? So in that case, on the click event, I will remove. So I have to create a method here also. So methods, which is again remove, which will get the index, and here I will emit an event. Emit event. So I have to say this dot emit event, and event name is item remove, and its index is this. So I'm passing some value here. So here on the home component, whenever this component loads, so I will say created. So there is a method called created on the view. So whenever this component created, let's try to alert something. So I will go here and you can see alert is here. If I am on login, no alert. As I go to home page, as home component created, we will get the alert. So this means now we can move this remove function from here and pass here in the created. But you know, I have made this as a function, but I'm also defining another function inside function. So what we have to do here, actually we have to say this dot dollar, this dot dollar on, and the event name item removed. So let's copy from here, item removed, and we are getting the index and using arrow function, and here passing it here. That's good, and this is okay. And let's try to check whether it's working or not. We have some kind of error here. It says closed here, this is closed, this okay, I have extra one. Okay, so now it is working. Let's go. Nothing. Okay, so Pikachu remove. It's not removing. Let's open view tab and let's refresh. Try to click remove. Event is emitted, but it is not listened by home. You know why? The event is emitted from this item and we are trying to listen on home. So item remove event is not emitted from home. So why not do one thing? If I go to main.js, so here what we can do, we can create a new Vue instance, and I will say window event buzz. I will just create a name called event buzz is equal to new Vue, and that is actually window.event buzz. So now we will go here, and instead of this dot emit, I will say event buzz dot emit event, and now listening on event buzz. So this time emitting and listening, both the part are done by this event buzz, global event buzz. So this is good. So this means if I now go and open Vue dev tool, clear out events, cancel it. Yes, it is removed because event is emitted and listened by home component, and this is the way you can tell anything from our child component to parent component. But I think you have a question that, Sarthak, why you are doing two things? You are writing here to remove, you are writing here to remove. Why this repetition? You don't know about the dry method, don't repeat yourself? Okay, so let me tell you about this. You know, Vue.js told us that you don't have to touch whatever you get on the prop. So if I try to splice from here or remove item from this items prop, that's not recommended. Either you have to do create a data that will return lists, or you can create something else and then you can change that, because that is your items component part. But this item, whatever we are getting here, is a part of home component. So that's why we are coming from item to home, and then we are removing from home where the original data is situated. So this is all about Vue.js and how we can communicate between two components. We have done various things. We have removed the data to a new component, and we have done lots and lots of things, but this is not the end yet. This is just the beginning. If you want to learn more, then you have to learn all the ecosystem. That means Vue.js, then comes Vuex, then come Nuxt.js. These three basic elements, the ecosystem of Vue.js, is essential to master Vue.js. And then after, you can also use Vuetify, and all these information are here on your Vue.js website, Vue.js community. And here you will see Vue, Vuex, Vue router, and some of the other things I think we have on here. Yeah, this is Vue ecosystem. So Vue router, Vuex, Vue server side rendering, and I will try to create videos for each and every thing of Vue.js. So after this, I think you got the knowledge of Vue.js and you can start with the Vue.js. And if you have any problem, feel free to message me and comment me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe and like Bitfumes. Don't forget to share these video with your developer friends so that everyone get the knowledge of Vue.js. And we will meet in the next episode. Till then, bye bye.